Hey everyone. I know that there's a lot going on right now, and a lot of you are scared. But hey, I thought I'd lighten the mood and give us a nice little positive spin on things for once. So let's talk global buffs in Honkai Star Rail. Long story short, this is an idea I've actually pitched for the game before, and if you watch my playthroughs, you've probably heard me go on and on about it because we've had global buffs in Genshin for a very, very long time. Personally, I think global buffs are a good idea. As I've already mentioned Genshin, let's look to Genshin for an example. Several characters, both at the 4-star and 5-star variety, all have usually a global passive that affects something in some way or another. Whether it be your team's stamina usage while gliding or sprinting, whether it is reductions on costs for crafting, or even a percent chance of getting some crafting materials back when you combine options. Or even like just a reduction in like the Mora cost when you are leveling up items or talents. So I guess if we were going to put those kind of features in Genshin Impact, it would be Omni-Synthesizer buffs. Or they would be General Ascension buffs. Another thing that we could actually talk about here is possibly adding similar global buffs to older characters. If we do add them as a mechanic in the game, I would recommend that they retroactively add them to all characters in the game so that all characters have a global buff. It's the only way that it'd be fair. That way it's not going to be tied to an Ascension trace. An example that I came up with for this video was, why don't we give Trippy some sort of a passive buff? For example, she's the demigod of passage, and there's the Yanis speed buff that we get in Amphorius. What if that speed buff was just a global passive that one unit had? Or several units had? Where just while you're in the overworld, you have a double sprint speed. And that could be on several units. The first ones that come to mind are like maybe Hook or Tribby are the first ones that come to mind. Or Bailu has a funny run animation in the trailer. Let's give it to Bailu too. Okay, I've distracted you for long enough. So let's talk about the real reason you probably clicked on this video. Let's talk about the leaks, which I don't normally like to talk about on this channel. And let's talk about, I guess in specific, we could talk about Castorice. So for those who do not already know, there have been leaks that several characters, primarily Castorice in 3.2, will have a global passive that has an effect in combat. Now, contrary to the global buffs that I described earlier in the video, that were primarily for out of combat or overworld effects, this is a global passive that affects in combat effects, which I actually am against, despite what I may have put in the thumbnail or the YouTube title. That's right, you got bait and switched. Anywho, long story short, I still do think that this type of global passive could be a good thing. However, it has to be executed in the right way. If we're going to put a powerful ability like this that drastically affects combat, especially for your entire account, regardless of whether the character is in the party or not, there need to be a few balancing things in place. Like maybe a very strict situation which it can be applied. I personally don't agree with this method. However, what I do think is, what if every account just got a Castorice from story progression, and this passive wasn't actually tied to her or owning her, but it was actually tied to reaching a certain point in the story. You get to the certain point in the story, your account has this global passive. That's one of the ways that they could implement something like this. Which actually ties into another idea or suggestion that I have actually pushed forward on other occasions, where let's just make it so that, hey, every time that there's a new unit, you get the first copy free, and then you can gacha for the Eidolons if you really want to. And if every person has a copy of every unit, the global passives don't become as much of a problem, outside of inherent power creep, which is always going to be a problem no matter what. Another idea that I have also seen and also suggested myself that we could do to deal with problems with these types of global passives, if you want them to affect all aspects of the game, would be just put these units on the standard banner. So that way everyone has a higher and equal chance to obtain them. So this is a little bit of more of a band-aid solution, but it definitely gets rid of the FOMO aspect of it. So it could be a better solution and a way to implement it in a way that balances it a little bit more, but I would still prefer other methods of balance. The last one that I want to talk about is just make it an active ability. Make it cost technique points. Make this her technique. These kind of abilities would be fine as techniques. I don't see why they have to be global passives. A lot of these abilities are pretty interesting ideas, and I personally think that we've needed to rework the technique system for a long time. And maybe if you'd like to see me do it in the future, I might do another one of these videos on a conversation I had with a friend about how I would rework techniques and improve the game complexity through techniques. But that's a video for another day and another topic. Anyway, if you'd like to see more scripted content like this, I would highly recommend you let me know, because I don't do it that often. This is primarily a channel where I just dump my VODs. And if you would like to tell me that you'd like to do more stuff, or see more content like this, then I would recommend you leave a comment and let me know so. Otherwise, you can join the Discord, where I am there almost all hours of the day. I will try to respond to stuff that is posted in the Gen Chat there. Or maybe you can even find me in Fleur's Discord chat. I'm usually responding to everybody who bothers to ask or ping me over there. Anyway, my playthroughs are on Twitch TV/SheetStreams, and that's the place where you can find me live. And that's all for now. See you all in another video. Stay safe out there.